Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. And never before has the shining bright future of professional wrestling looked so dim as it did tonight when it tried to shine on Monday Night Raw. If I would have sat you down at any point before Monday Night Raw and told you guys that 4 of the biggest stars ever to set foot in an NXT ring were going to show up on an episode and have no effect on the crowd and no effect on the overall quality of the show, would you believe me? Or would you think I was absolutely crazy? Because I felt like a crazy person watching this episode of Monday Night Raw, and we are going to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review. Let's do it! Yeah!
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me finally for this episode of the Monday Night Raw review. My apologies to all of you guys who tuned in last night and saw the original recording of this video that showed up with no sound. You don't even know. That was just the cherry on top of an absolutely miserable night in this studio. Hopefully everything stays as is and we go off without a hitch. And as you are probably watching this show right now, the SmackDown Live review is being recorded as we just finished watching SmackDown Live. But I am not going to deprive you guys of my thoughts about last night's debacle in Lafayette, Louisiana. What the hell is going on down there? What are they thinking about in that crowd that they're sitting there with their arms crossed like a bunch of pissed off babies? What, are they hungry and they want to get home to mama's gumbo? Are they wondering what spices are we going to use in the jambalaya down here in Cajun Town? What the hell was up with that crowd last night? I will never understand. I even said in the original recording of this review last night, I don't understand how logistically far away Lafayette, Louisiana is from a place like New Orleans, where there are actual wrestling fans, where they packed in for NXT and WrestleMania on multiple occasions and always have a very, very raucous and wild and wrestling-savvy crowd. How far away are these two places from one another that the quality of wrestling fans go from apples to oranges? I don't understand. Maybe that's what they were worried about. Maybe they needed to get home and pick their apple trees or harvest their oranges or whatever it is that they grow down there in Lafayette. They're definitely not caring about modern day wrestling. Maybe they were waiting for Hulk Hogan or somebody to show up. They could have had CM Punk come back to Monday Night Raw last night, and I don't think one person in that crowd would have even reacted. That's how bad this crowd was, and a crowd can kill a show, and Lafayette definitely came with their daggers to murder Monday Night Raw last night, even though they gave their best efforts and their best wasn't good enough. Definitely not for me. When you take 4 of the prime names of NXT, which nobody in Lafayette, Louisiana knows, by the way, because they don't want to pay $9.99 for the WWE Network to watch real wrestling. What kind of a wrestling fan can't dish out $10 a month to watch actual wrestling, to watch the good stuff? You can go back and watch the historic stuff. You can watch the NXT stuff. Everything will be great. You don't have to just watch what Raw and SmackDown give you every week. There's a plethora of content, and it only costs you $9.99. Why aren't you guys watching NXT? Why are these people not savvy to these guys that have shown up tonight to try to spark some kind of a gold-fused injection of life into a dead red brand? And it didn't go off that well. Did we have great matches? I wouldn't call them great. I would say we had some very good matches, but in this reviewer's opinion, everybody from NXT on Monday Night Raw was showcased in a very lackluster and undeserving manner. All of these guys deserve to have the red carpet rolled out a whole lot bigger than was done up last night. And while we're on that topic, these 4 guys that are being pushed now probably off of the basis of the popularity of the Halftime Heat show and how good that went off, they're being brought up to the main roster. We've seen more of them on Monday Night Raw and now tonight in SmackDown Live, which we'll get to later on, than we have seen of Lars Sullivan or EC3 or any of the guys that were announced to be called up at the beginning of the year. They don't even have their shit straight with what they're doing with the crop they already got. Now they want to throw all of these guys at your faces, and they don't even give you anything really worth sinking your teeth into. What are you talking about, Nick? We saw Ricochet. We saw Ricochet on Monday Night Raw. Yeah, you saw him. That's great, and he did some cool stuff, and that's great. But when you look back at it right now and realize that for the majority of Ricochet's appearance on Monday Night Raw, he stood on the apron waiting for a hot tag, how effective, how surprising, how great of an impact did Ricochet really make upon his debut of Monday Night Raw? Instead of doing what most people assumed he was going to do, which was going to end up challenging Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship one-on-one, which would have absolutely got everybody out of their mind, and it would have been a fantastic match. You don't have a winner. You have somebody come out and interfere. You could have had your Bobby Lashley all milk dud fix there. You need to eat your milk duds, right, Vince? You got to see the big, boring milk dud Bobby Lashley. So you send him out to the ring to ruin what would have been a great match. And you can just use that as the seeds to plant this story on the road to WrestleMania. You could still get your Lashley and Leo versus Ricochet and Finn match. You could have done that at Fastlane. You could have done that on a random lead-in episode of Monday Night Raw. And then you could just conclude this whole thing at WrestleMania with Finn and Ricochet going one-on-one for the Intercontinental Championship. Nobody else involved. Finally settling who's the better man would be magical. It would be fantastic. But that's not what we got. We got Ricochet watching him hop around on the outside like this for a good 10 to 12 minutes of what ended up being an almost 20-minute match. So how good of that was a debut in your eyes? Sure, he did his signature moves. You know, we saw the 630 splash. It was great. He got the win. Great. But what did it really mean? What did it do? What does any of them being there really mean? They didn't explain anything. Is this a permanent call-up? It can't be, since it's featuring two of the prime singles champions of the NXT brand. Is this an NXT invasion? Are they truly coming to take over like Ciampa and Gargano keep claiming? I don't know, because they won't tell us what the hell the meaning of all of this is anyway. So they bring in Ricochet and they absolutely waste him. And then they want to give us a rematch with DIY, one of the greatest tag teams in NXT history, one of the fan favorites of all time down there, versus their greatest rivals, The Revival, the newly crowned Raw Tag Team Champions, The Revival. And you got all this gold in the ring, and you have all this NXT talent in the ring, and I'm setting up and I'm gearing up for another classic. What would be the point of putting them on Monday Night Raw if you're not going to showcase them in the proper light and give them and give the fans of Monday Night Raw just even a taste of what we got at NXT? Because that's not really what we got here. We got a very good match between these two teams because they can't have a bad match. It's statistically impossible. There's just too much chemistry between these guys, and it just would not happen. There would not be a bad match between these two teams. But when you take into account that every time these two teams set foot in the ring together to try to go to war for whatever it is, a chance at an opportunity at the title, for the actual titles themselves, it was a knockdown, drag-out fight that it seemed that these guys would rather die than to lose this matchup. And in this instance, on this night, we just got an amped-up Monday Night Raw tag team match, which I appreciate the effort, and I enjoyed every minute of the match, but I was just expecting so much more. So much so that when the finish came, I was expecting a kick out, because I was like, oh, that's it? That's it? Yeah, that was good, but that's it? These guys could have tore the roof off of the cage and dome. It definitely needed to be torn off. Maybe the guys were getting too hot in there and they needed a breeze from the outside. You should have let these guys blow this place up. But you give them 10 minutes, barely 10 minutes, so that we can get 15 minutes of Baron Corbin and Braun Strowman in a tables match that nobody wants to see? Come on, man. That's Monday Night Raw bullshit for you, and that's why I'm here, to make you see the light. What about Aleister Black? We saw Aleister Black. He had a match with Elias. That match was ridiculous. Why? Why was it ridiculous? You're being ridiculous. No, sir. No, madam. I am not being ridiculous. I am being truthful because Aleister Black has an aura. Aleister Black is a character that was crafted perfectly in NXT. He has a certain significance about him. There's a way that he carries himself and a way that he is supposed to be packaged that has already been proven to be successful, that the WWE broke all of them. If there were set rules for Aleister Black to follow, the WWE broke them all in one night. A, by having him speak, and B, by having him be put to the test by Elias? What? And then you want to have him in his first appearance be a straight up match? Why? Why? You got Elias out there with his guitar doing his Elias thing because they don't know what else to write for this guy to do, and he's going to be interrupted by wrestler A, wrestler B, wrestler C on whatever week it's going to be, and on this night it was the newly debuting Aleister Black. Why this guy didn't just come out, kick this guy in the face, turn around and walk away without saying 2 words, I will never understand, because that's what we should have seen from Aleister Black. Not him come out and have something to say and try to get the crowd to listen to him in his weird Dutch accent. I am from Holland. Isn't that weird? You know what's weird is that you said anything in the first place. What's weird is that you didn't just go in there and take Elias's head off with a black mass kick. That's what the guy's known to do. That's what he did to take care of 90% of his opponents in the lead up to any matches he would have. He barely said anything at all in NXT. What was the first thing many of us heard him say at all? What he said to the Velveteen Dream. He said the Velveteen Dream's name. The Velveteen Dream fought him and was the first person to bring him to a level where the guy had to acknowledge the other guy and actually speak words. And here on Monday Night Raw, he's just out there cutting a promo and having an 8, 9, 10 minute long match with Elias, where Elias was on the offensive way too much. Rest holds, sleeper holds, ground holds, and Elias is in firm control of the majority of this matchup, probably through the entirety of the commercial break, only to have them do the black mass finish anyway. It would have been better, and it would have been more distinct and just put the character of Aleister Black over more if it would have been done properly, and this was not. Just like the tag team match was not handled properly, just like Ricochet's appearance was not really handled properly. And while we're talking about NXT talents not being handled properly, we can't go any further without talking about Heavy Machinery and Lacey Evans. This girl just keeps walking up and down to the ring for absolutely no fucking reason. I understand that she's just trying to steal the show in that moment, right? But this little fashion walk runway model with her whole big 1950s ridiculous hat and her polka dot outfit dresses and whatever it is she's trying to sell, it doesn't make sense for them to have this happen on TV and then at least let the eloquent and educated lady of NXT at least have something to say. Give her a catchphrase, give her a tagline. It doesn't have to go much further than, you people don't deserve to see the lady of NXT compete in this ring. Have her tease the fact that she's going to wrestle. Have a girl in the ring, ready for a match. Lacey Evans is supposed to wrestle tonight. Do the thing you did with fucking Eva Marie, only this time it'll be a little bit more interesting because it's being done with Lacey Evans and she's trying to be classy and sophisticated, right? And she's going to come out to every town, and especially in a town like Lafayette, Louisiana, you guys do not deserve to see the lady of NXT. And then she could turn around and walk off with her goofy little hats and her little ensembles and do whatever she's got to do. And I would be much more okay with that. Instead of just her walking out there, smiling, doing her little and then just turning around and walking away. And I'm just like, what the fuck was the point of that? And it was only made even worse by tonight's appearance by Heavy Machinery. Heavy Machinery gets an interview segment, right, where they're calling each other brothers now. Hey, little brother. Hey, big brother. Steaks and weights, man. It's just absolutely cringeworthy. It's terrible. I never remember hearing them reference to each other as brothers ever once in my life as I seen them in NXT. They are being made to look so much more goofy than they ever were intended to be, especially when we watched them initially in NXT, like I was saying. And it just was made even worse by the fact that Lacey Evans interrupted these two guys while they were talking about their steaks and weights to do her little catwalk, little doodah. And then these guys decide to do a catwalk doodah too, But instead, they prove me right. They prove me right and show you guys how wise I actually am, because I was the first person to tell you guys from the first time I seen them on the main roster, they turned these guys into the new Bushwhackers. And now they gave them the move and everything. And they're walking around doing the Luke and the Butch up and down the ramp for absolutely no fucking reason. All this to lead into a fucking tag team match between the Lucha House Party and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins that was going to last about half as long as all of the shenanigans we just witnessed. And should not have even been booked on the same match as a tag team matchup featuring DIY and the Revival, because that's just a joke. To have those two matches on the same card is just absolutely asinine. How stupid do the Lucha House Party and Hawkins and Ryder look. That match was ridiculous. That was barely even a match. That was just a way to continue the Kurt Hawkins losing streak story. And why are we even telling this story? The whole reason to put him with Zack Ryder was to break this whole thing from happening anymore. But it continues. And now it's bringing down Mr. Woo Woo Woo. And I don't know, why? Fucking ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. All of the things that happened on this show tonight. And we didn't even get into the fact that Paul Heyman pretty much told the world today that Brock Lesnar used to kill animals when he was a little baby, because he honed his killer instinct on a farm while he was growing up trying to provide meat for his fucking family. Now, as being a city guy, I'm sure some of you guys out there, you know, you have to do that. Maybe some of you guys are hunters and you do that thing, and that's fine with you. But I'm a city guy. I was born and raised in New York City, and I get my meat from the store. I get it in a nice little package. It's covered in plastic. It's got a little sticker on it. Tells me how much money I gotta fucking give to the guy. And that's how I get my meat. I don't go to the back, or I don't go to my farm and pull out the cow, and I don't say, come on Bessie, come on Millie, come on Naya, come on Tamina, and then just boom, boom, boom them in the head and then have steak for dinner. That's not what I do. Apparently this is what Brock Lesnar does. This is what Paul Heyman wants us to believe, and that's fine if you're trying to tell a story, and that's the only type of story they told us, because everything else they told us about Brock Lesnar, at least Paul Heyman told us about Brock Lesnar, is nothing we don't already know. We know he's an NCAA champion. We know how many times he's been the world champion. He went to the UFC and he was a champion, and he beat Randy Couture and he beat this one and that one. And we know this. Why are you just spouting facts at us, man? We don't care. I certainly didn't care. And this was only part one. This was only part one. Absolutely ridiculous. And here's another thing that bothered me about the whole entirety of Monday Night Raw. And this seems to be a theme from week to week, is they're having segments bleed into one another. And case in point with Paul Heyman right here, I don't even think he was done with his little promo on Brock Lesnar. And all of a sudden, Finn Balor's music hits, and Finn Balor comes out. And we don't know as of yet that he's going to be in this ridiculous match with Ricochet as his tag team partner. But it seemed to me when it happened that Finn Balor was going to come out and have something to say to Paul Heyman. And it just makes the show feel a little bit more off-putting than it already is. It's like we don't know when one thing is starting and another thing is beginning. And they're doing this to what? To make it feel more exciting? Because you're definitely not making it feel like it has a better flow. You're only making my brain hurt even more. Because not only is what I'm watching not making sense, now it's all bleeding into one gigantic, absolute nightmare. And not a good nightmare like me. The rest of this show was ridiculous. The whole Triple H coming out telling us we're going to get NXT people tonight, but we're going to kick it off with a fucking tables match between your two favorite superstars, Constable Corbin Dickhead and the monster that no one gives a shit about anymore. Do you? Because I don't. Braun Strowman's ship has sailed and sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and I personally could give two shits if I ever see him come back again to a Monday Night Raw show. He should be moved to SmackDown or send him back to NXT so that everybody can forget about him for a little while, and then maybe we'll give a shit when he comes back. What was the whole point of this? This guy's coming back after being choke slammed or triple power bombed through a double stacked table ECW style by everybody's least favorite superstar and two more guys that nobody gives a shit about at this juncture. And what was the point of tonight? So that he could have some little measure of comeuppance on Baron Corbin? Definitely not anything worth watching. Or was it just to show everybody Braun Strowman wrapped up like a crime scene with all the tape on his back and all this kinesio tapes? I don't even know why everybody's walking around all taped up. What does this tape do? Should I get some of this tape? Is it going to help my back? Is it going to help my hip or my knee when I'm old? Do I just got to put this little piece of tape on and then I can go out there and be a wrestler? Like, what's with this fucking tape? Everybody's wrapped up like mummies all the time. Cesaro was the first one we ever see use it. Now everybody's freaking wearing it. And in weird places, like across the backs, like in an X shape. Like, what are you doing? That was the whole point? Was it an ad for Kinesio tape? I don't know. Because it definitely wasn't worth fucking 15 minutes of my time. And you're only giving me 10 minutes of a DIY revival match, but I gotta sit through this garbage. Ridiculous. Anyway, we had the Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor with Ricochet defeating Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. Ricochet hit Lio with the 630 senton for the pinfall. Dean Ambrose shows up out of nowhere while Drew McIntyre is making all pissy faces at Triple H because he wants to be in Seth Rollins' spot at WrestleMania. Dean Ambrose will be more than happy to fight tonight against Drew McIntyre. And then he smacks the Scottish right out of his mouth. Okay, fine. Dean Ambrose is getting his crazy back, I guess. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he leaving? Is he staying? At this point, I don't care. It's been the most interesting thing he's been doing as of late, but I don't know whether or not I should invest myself in it, because if this guy's just patting himself up with moments before he leaves, I don't know. I just don't know what to think about Dean Ambrose. And that's not the last time we are going to talk about him on this show tonight either, and it only gets weirder. It only gets weirder when it comes to the Lunatic Fringe. All of a sudden, he's interesting to me again. And of course, that would be as he's leaving. We see the Lucha House Party come out for their ridiculous match, and then they decide to run a promo to feature everything that's going on with the Women's Championship and Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. And I'm asking myself, why is this segment being put here? Going more to that whole weirdness of the flow of this show. Wouldn't this have been better served to be shown previous to the main event of the evening, which was featuring Ronda Rousey? Why are we showing this while Lince Dorado and the rest of the guys are out there with their piñatas throwing fucking candy out, and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins can't even get an entrance during a Monday Night Raw, and the five of these guys are just standing there in the ring while we're watching this promo. And then we come back from this promo and you're going into this tag team matchup, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense, and your brain's like, why did they just show me that if we're gearing up for this tag team match? Shouldn't we have had like an interview with Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, or maybe somebody talking about the tag team division? Maybe Ciampa and Gargano film a little something talking about how the tag team division here is garbage, because it is. I don't know. But something pertaining to tag teams, you would think. It just didn't make sense, you guys. Typical Monday Night Raw bullshit. Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado defeat Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder in 3 minutes. Did you care? I didn't. After this, we got the complete dumbassery of Heavy Machinery in their interview with Charlie Caruso being interrupted by Lacey Evans, and then she seemed to be smitten by the Heavy Machinery, or was I having a stroke? I don't know if I was understanding what I was watching, but the lady, this classy lady, is sitting there enjoying two slobbering morons bushwhacking their way up and down the ramp. And now I'm asking myself, how intelligent and educated and eloquent could she be? Maybe she's breathing too much of that Louisiana air. I don't know what it is, but it definitely was fucking stupid. We saw Gargano and Ciampa backstage, and I know I said that a little weird, but get over it, because we're moving on. And they were giving a little promo talking about how they're here to take over the main roster, and I'm all for it. I'm behind them. Then we have the Glorious Gables coming out, and they want to say their 2 cents, and then the Revival are coming out, and they're like, oh, you guys are at the bottom, and we're the top guys, and yada, yada, yada. So now my immediate assumption is that the Glorious Gables are going to cost us a finish in this awesome match. And that's how we were going to go. These guys are going to go 15, 20 minutes, and then somebody's going to come out and stop this match from finishing so that nobody truly loses or gains momentum. But that, my friends, is not what happened. We had a straight-up match. It was 11 minutes long, and we had the 2 guys from NXT come into Monday Night Raw and beat Raw's tag team champions. Now, I'm not saying the Revival should have beaten Ciampa and Gargano, there's no way I believe that either. I already outlined to you what should have happened. This should have been a schmaz finish. Somebody should have came out and stopped the festivities and got somebody disqualified. If you didn't want to do that, the intensity between these two teams is so great, you could have had them go to the outside and get double counted out. You can't see Gargano and Dash and Dawson and Wilder. I know that all the names were messed up there. I'm sorry. But you can't see those four guys spilling the action out to ringside, going into the seats, and just getting counted out, not even paying attention to the referee's count, and just getting lost in the battle so that this can continue maybe on some other day. That's the way around these things. You didn't have to have the NXT champion and North American champion, respectively, teaming up in this weird teaming. Because DIY is not officially back together, but they've got this weird like connection as champions. But you see Johnny Gargano's just like living in his own world in his mind. And while Ciampa seems to be happy about everything that's going on, Gargano just seems to be like, yeah, I'm here. Like there's just something off. And like their chemistry shouldn't be as great right now as it used to be. But it's good enough to beat the Revival, because, man, the WWE hates them some Revival. They hate the Revival probably about as much as they hate Asuka. And we'll talk about that on the SmackDown Live review. God damn it, man. You can say whatever you want about the Louisiana crowd not responding to the NXT superstars coming up, and you can put whatever reason you want behind it. But when the crowd wants to stay asleep, when we're trying to have the celebration of sorts for Sasha and Bayley, the boss and God damn it, the boss and sorry you guys, I'm going to continue to try because they are the champions now, and I thought maybe I'd be able to actually say their team name, but I can't say it. The Sasha and Bayley team came on to Monday Night Raw with their beautiful Women's Tag Team Championship belts and was getting their moment of respect, and they're talking about how they put so much work into this, and it wasn't just for them, and it's not just for the fans, but it's for everybody in the back, and the women's revolution, and all of the things that you would expect them to say. And I want to believe all of that, and I want it to all come true for them. I couldn't be more proud of these two girls. I've watched them come so far. I've watched the WWE shit all over them for the last couple of years, and finally for them to be put in some sort of a position where they have made history and have their names in a significant piece of the record books where nobody else's name will ever be. It's not just being another one of the champions. They are the first ever of the newly minted WWE Tag Team Women's Championship. I guess we're not referencing the WWF's Tag Team Championship since they want to keep saying first, even though it's not the first ever. It's really just a revival of an old championship, but be that as it may, it puts them in a significant position, and they absolutely deserve it. These are two girls that worked their ass off to really kickstart the whole thing with girls like Paige and Charlotte and Becky. Like, they all worked together as a unit. It wasn't just one specific girl, and these girls always, to me, seemed like they were getting the shaft by the WWE. So for them to put them in this position made me feel good for them. It made me happy about it. But this whole segment was a little bit less than satisfactory. I thought we could have had some confetti, maybe somebody coming out, giving them congratulations, or something to make it special and celebratory, since you want to make it seem that way. You want to make it seem so grandiose and so important and have some prestige, but you didn't give it any flash. You didn't give it any sizzle. You just had the girls go out there. Sasha talked with her weird little accent. Bayley said what she had to say. And then we had to see Nia Jax and Tamina, who busted out of my barn from earlier in the evening and made their way to Monday Night Raw and interrupted this whole thing. Nia Jax making her faces, meh, meh, and it just makes me want to just hide under a rock and get as far away from Monday Night Raw as possible when these two hit the screen, as I'm sure you guys do as well. But it was what it was. They tried to get into the ring. Sasha and Bayley fended them off, and that's all you need to know. And obviously they are going to probably be the first challengers for the championship. Hopefully they don't beat them, and I don't want to see that at WrestleMania either, so hopefully they come up with something else. We talked about DX going into the Hall of Fame tonight, and as much as I see this as like a session for Triple H and his buddies to get into the Hall of Fame, I do appreciate the fact that they are including Chyna. Chyna does deserve her own induction on her own merits, just like a guy like X-Pac definitely does. He broke the barrier on size in the WWE way before a lot of these other guys were able to take advantage of the fact of being a smaller talent. He made the right friends in the right places, and he definitely made a name for himself, and he deserves to be on his own as well. But Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, I don't think you could say the same thing about them. They were an influential tag team, but do they have Hall of Fame credits as the New Age Outlaws on their own? Possibly. It's something that you could definitely make an argument for or against, but I don't really see them going in on their own. And by them getting all in together, I feel like it's the only way most of them were going to get in the first place. And just Chyna, man, I feel like she's going to get lost in the shuffle, and she's just going to be one of the guys here, where she definitely deserves her own little special thing. I don't give a shit about what people do in their personal, private lives, and it is what it is. And the lady has a significant part in the history of professional wrestling, and I would have preferred them just do it for her alone. You would figure in a year where they're celebrating women so much, they would have done something like that and put all the water under the bridge and just threw Chyna in there on their own. And that's the only negative thing I could say about DX going in the Hall of Fame. They definitely deserve it. They are the biggest WWE faction of all time. They really are. And while there are two different versions of it, and they're all going in at the same time, we never seen Shawn with the Outlaws all that much, and there was a whole nother history between Shawn and Triple H in the early 2000s. It's all well and good, and it's some of the greatest shit you will ever see. It'll be interesting to see who they get to induct them. I think it should be a guy maybe like JR, or a guy like Mick Foley, somebody that has been there pretty much throughout the entirety of all their shenanigans, and I think it's going to be fun to see, and they're probably going to headline the whole thing, which means we're going to watch it from beginning to end, no matter what, because we need to see DX go in to the Hall of Fame. Drew McIntyre beat Dean Ambrose in 2 minutes because he's doing the honors to everybody on his way out the door, apparently. Then we had Aleister Black in that match with Elias that went along way too long, and at least we had the right winner, and everybody from NXT clean sweeped everybody from Monday Night Raw tonight. We saw part 2 of Paul Heyman's little video where he talked about everybody Brock Lesnar's ever beaten, from The Undertaker and Goldberg all the way down to Roman Reigns, and that Seth Rollins is going to be next. And this is not a prediction, it's not a spoiler, it's just a story that is called The End of Seth Rollins, and that's how we are going to end it. Again, no real story being told, just more facts being spouted in our face to Paul Heyman, and from Paul Heyman rather. And as good as it was, because Heyman delivered it very well, I just really didn't care. We went back to Seth Rollins, who obviously listened to the whole thing with Charlie Caruso backstage, and he's like, no matter what, whether I'm on my own 2 feet or I get carried out on a stretcher, I am leaving WrestleMania as the Universal Champion. And then Crazy Dean shows back up, and he's like, bro, where were you? Why didn't you come out and help me? While he's like rubbing his jaw and shit, and we're all sitting at home like this, like, what? What is going on? Why is he acting like this? And then Seth Rollins asked the obvious question, have you lost your goddamn mind? And then Dean Ambrose gives this crazy look. And that was the one time the whole night everybody in Louisiana decided to laugh or react in any way. And then he was like, and walked away. That's how I feel after every Monday Night Raw. That should be the new tagline of Raw. And then the end of this show just made me even more mad, because not that this was a bad match between Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott in their rematch, which is, again, way too many R's for any one sentence anywhere in the English language. Why was this not the match we saw at the Elimination Chamber? I don't understand. Why Ronda Rousey absolutely squashed Ruby Riott, and then 24 hours later, Ruby Riott's a viable contender and brings her to a 10-minute long main event on Monday Night Raw? It just does not equate. Was Sonya Blade's outfit on Ronda Rousey just too much? Is Ruby Riott actually afraid of a video game character from Mortal Kombat? Is that what it was? Was it just too much for her to overcome, to see her fear of her video game character, the one character that terrified her more than anybody in the world, has come to life and is now in the ring, across the ring from her, and she just can't take it? It's Sonya Blade. What am I going to do? Where is Baraka? Somebody get Shao Kahn. Where's Liu Kang? Please get me out of here. 24 hours later, Ruby Riott puts on a very, very good effort against Ronda Rousey. It was not as bad as I was expecting at the Elimination Chamber, but it was what it was. And, of course, if you were expecting Ruby Riott to come out on top in this matchup, you're insane. You're insane. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. I still love you, and you're a treasured brother or sister of this Sledgehammer family, but you're losing your mind as much as Dean Ambrose is. Because they're not going to take Ronda Rousey off the road to WrestleMania, not for a token championship for Ruby Riott or anybody else. Well, they got the hottest ticket in town being built around Ronda Rousey and all of this stuff going on with the Raw Women's Championship. And that was Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. Hopefully, everything went off without a hitch and we're all sounded and we made it this far and everything is great. So we are going to wrap it up and then we are going to film the SmackDown Live review and we will see you later on for that one. This was a fucking crazy week, and I want to thank you guys for being here with me. I apologize for all the technical difficulties, and better late than never, I always say. You know what? But here we are. Thank you guys for joining us for this Monday Night Raw review for Monday, February the 17th, 2019. The Elimination Chamber Fallout show absolutely fell flat, and now you know why. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are not yet part of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Club family. You need to join right now by hitting that subscribe button. Make sure to stay notified by hitting that little ring bell next to that subscribe button so that you never miss a video that we put up on this channel. We're not just a review show anymore. We have Bringing the Hammer Down, the new editorial type show where we talk about pretty much anything we want in professional wrestling, and this month's episode so far is featuring the Elimination Chamber, and I give you guys the 5 most shocking Elimination Chamber winners of all time. You can go check out that video. It'll be linked in the annotations up above, as well as my Elimination Chamber review, which was absolutely 100 bag of hammers fun. If you missed out on that, go check that out immediately following this one while you're waiting for SmackDown Live to finish uploading as soon as I get this wrapped up and over with. And let's do that right now. This might have been the record fastest Monday Night Raw review I have ever done due to the fear of us crashing down, so let's finish this up before that becomes a reality. My name, ladies and gentlemen, is Nick Nightmare. This is my trusty team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and the Wrestling God of Thunder. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is you. Don't forget to give this video a like, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to vent out some frustrations on Monday Night Raw. This is the place to be. Make sure you leave your comments for me down in that comment section down there below. And as always, don't forget we are sponsored by Audible that has 180,000 books that speak to you that you could put into your earballs instead of using your eyeballs. And I got one free book for you if you sign up for the 30-day free trial. Absolutely free. Don't cost you a nickel. And you go to audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv right now. Pick your free book. Cancel before the 30 days is up if you choose, which I don't know why you would because it's a great service, but if you choose to do that, you get to keep that book to listen to for all time on all your portable media devices. Go to audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv right now and redeem this fantastic deal. Thank you guys so much once again for your patience, your love, and your support. I absolutely adore every single one of you, and I will see you in just a few minutes for the SmackDown Live review. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.